Hello, welcome to Macmoto. Today I'm going to be going over my dislikes and likes for the Husqvarna Svartpilen 401. So we're going to do like my last video for the KTM 390 Adventure, and we're going to start off with the things I dislike about the bike. First issue that I have with the bike, and kind of one of the more annoying features of it, is the dash buttons. I don't really have any problem with the dash itself. I think the information on it's clear enough and it gives me what I need. I don't care that it's not a full color display. It could have a little better contrast for seeing in the light, but I have no problem with it. I'm riding this bike. I'm not really paying attention to that too much, and I'm just enjoying the ride. But the two buttons on the left side of the display there, they're kind of under a rubbery covering, and when you go to push them, especially if you're wearing a thicker glove, I seem to have a really hard time to activate the buttons. And it's almost like you have this big soft area and you got to find just the right spot inside of that soft area where you're making contact with the actual switch underneath. And then you just have those two buttons to go for all the functions, which there's not a lot of functions on this bike. It doesn't have near the functions of the KTM 390 Adventure with its TFT dash. So just the actual physical activation of those buttons is my problem with it. And like I said, this bike is for riding and enjoyment. I don't really care that it doesn't have all those features or a nicer display. The only thing that would be an improvement is just the audio interface like the 390 Adventure has, where I can change my audio tracks from the motorcycle interface, some kind of handlebar control. That's just a really nice feature that bike has. Another real small dislike is the quick shifter. It's nice that they add this feature, that you're able to get it on this bike. I think it works much better when you're shifting up, but the downshifts can be a little bit jarring. And I find myself in this weird position where I still have it active on it. You can disable it, but I use it at times, but at other times I'm working the clutch a lot more. And if I want to have the smoothest ride, I'm working the clutch myself, and I'm kind of overriding that quick shifter. So I think it's nice that it's on there. I'm not going to complain that it's there, but it's still got some issues as far as being a real smooth option compared to just doing it yourself. Okay, next is ground clearance. Now this is maybe a touchy topic because it depends what you're trying to do with this bike, and obviously it's a street bike, but it kind of has a bit of that scrambler look to it. And of course they put the Pirelli Scorpion STR tires on it, which also hint at a scrambler nature along with the spoked wheels. And no doubt this is also a very stylized bike, so you can say they made those choices for style and to get sales. But the exhaust on this model year for the Svartpilen was rerouted to go down under the engine case, and that robs a couple inches of ground clearance on it. And then by the time you add a skid plate, you're really down there. And so I find that my skid plate is scraping when I'm deep into corners, or just hitting when I go over some bumps. And so definitely off road, you are working that skid plate. It's getting hit, it's getting bumped, but that is just the nature of the bike, and it probably was never designed to do any of that. So it'd be nice to add more ground clearance. I know I had seen that you can actually retrofit this model year. This is a 2020 model year with the earlier pipe system that I believe came on the bikes that had been originally made in Austria. You can fit that one and it goes over the engine. But I've already bought the skid plate and everything set up with this one, so maybe at a later date, but for now just live with it. Next is the front forks. Well, it has really good suspension, and I'm glad that they put on the adjustable suspension. For the riding I do, I can easily go through the travel on those forks, and it just doesn't hold up again to trying to be a scrambler as intense as I ride it. And again, it's probably was never meant to be, so that's just a real minor gripe that if you're trying to really use this thing off-road, don't be surprised when you find that the front travel and the ground clearance don't match the rest of the bike. And finally, this bike has about 2.5 gallons of fuel in the tank, and you end up seeing the fuel light come on probably not even a gallon into that tank, I bet. And through all the fill-ups I've done on it, I think the most I've ever done is just a hair over 2 gallons, and that's running it down. About halfway through the tank, you get that low fuel light, and I usually estimate that I can go about 120 miles before I really need to consider fueling up. But about 60 miles out, a counter comes up on your dash giving you the estimated remaining range, and I have ran that thing all the way out and then some, and still haven't ever gone dry on this bike. So I just would like it if there's a little, first of all, having that low fuel light come on later, because it's really annoying just always seeing that low fuel light come on, and that's obviously a little pet peeve. But then also it just seems like it could be calibrated a little better so that you can maximize the amount of fuel you got in that tank, because I think it's definitely screaming at you to go to the gas pump sooner than you need to. But that is just a minor pet peeve. Alright, with the dislikes out of the way, let's see what I really like or love about this bike. The tires, we'll start with those since we already mentioned them. The Pirelli Scorpion STR tires, they work great all around, I think. I am really impressed with them. I don't notice any problems with them on the road, and I am really thrilled with how hard you can push the bike through the corners, and it just sticks to the road. Those tires are far better than I'm ever going to be, and so I just find that for something that looks like it has some off-road chops and actually performs well in the dirt, it gives up nothing on the road, I think. And then, like I said, when you get off-road with these tires, I actually feel more confident. And I don't know if it's because maybe it's the lower seat height, but I think a lot of it has to do with the tires on this bike, that on gravelly roads and loose pack, those tires actually feel more confident, inspiring, and I feel like I can tell when the front end's going to start giving, and I can push it harder in the corners on that loose pack, whereas especially the TKC 70s on the 390 Adventure just do not inspire a lot of confidence on that loose pack. And I'm considering putting this same Scorpion STR tire on the front of my 390 Adventure to help give me a little better feel when I'm off-road. So again, this is something that was mentioned on the dislikes, but actually it's, I think, a big plus is the suspension. For a bike that comes in at a little over $5,000 when I think it was new, having fully adjustable suspension is, I think, pretty unheard of, and it just gives you that extra ability to take and make some minor adjustments. And I have seen improvements when I take it off-road, that I can make some adjustments and get a little more comfort or performance out of the suspension. So that was just one of the many things on this bike that I feel are like premium features that KTM, Husqvarna, have brought down to the smaller displacement bikes and the entry-level bikes, so that you can have a quality bike without having to go back and retrofit stuff. Because I think a lot of the times these smaller displacement or so-called beginner bikes, they have to take a lot of stuff off to bring the price down, to make it so it's not competing with the larger displacement bikes. And when you do that, all the beginners and lower budget people, they're getting crappier bikes. Honestly, they're just not getting quality. So if you're somebody that wants a nice bike and you just don't really want all that displacement, you don't need it, Husqvarna has given you a bike that has a lot of those premium features. You're not going to have to go back and buy them out of the parts bin later and huck a bunch of brand new motorcycle parts off your bike just to get a quality motorcycle. And along with that is the brakes. It has great brakes. The brakes on both this and the 390 Avenger are just great. They have awesome feel, lots of bite, and they've just always been there when I've come to a stop. or needed them, especially with the ABS. It just adds that little bit of extra confidence that no matter what you're doing, those brakes have a lot of bite and they'll stop you if you need to come to an emergency stop. And it's a great feature. The handling on this bike, I think, is exceptional. Again, I may not have the most experience to pit it against other bikes, but I enjoy riding it. It's very agile and fun in the corners, and just a great bike overall. I can't recommend it enough for the handling. Then another premium feature, and one that I think makes this bike have a lot more versatility compared to other bikes out there, is they give you the ABS, but then they give you the mode for Supermoto mode, so that you can take away that ABS on that back wheel and get into some more advanced riding maneuvers, or for that off-road riding. So that expands the versatility of this bike, whereas other bikes that I understand that have ABS systems that don't have anything like that, you're going to have to go back in there and do something about the ABS fuse if you want to go off-road riding, or if you want to be able to kick out the back end or any of that stuff. So it's just nice that KTM and Husqvarna provide that feature on such a entry-level bike. And then the engine sound is one of those things that I love on this bike. I guess I really like thumpers, maybe coming from dirt bikes. The single cylinder, the kind of gnarly, kind of unrefined sound of this engine, you get it in certain RPMs and it just sounds really nice to me. Like I said, this thing has the stock pipe still. It'd be nice to have a little more sound out of it, but I'm actually a little bit remiss about changing that out, because the stock pipe, I actually really like the looks of it, and I think it's just a very attractive piece. And so I don't know if I'm going to trade looks for sound, but it'd be almost nice to hear a little bit more rumble out of it and just a little more throatiness. But just the engine itself and the power delivery, the sound, it's a great experience on this bike. And then one of the biggest likes of the bike is obviously its looks. I think this is an exceptionally good looking bike. That was what drew it to me as my first street bike. I had seen this thing somewhere and I just thought it was the neatest looking bike, and I don't see them out there all that often. Just the styling, I guess I'm everybody's in the craze for the cafe style bikes, and I feel this gives that vibe, but even better than a lot of these brands that just kind of try and rehash the 1960s 70s era motorcycles. This to me is a great modern take on it, and very interesting styling. And it's been getting compliments whenever I take it out. People are just really interested, and being that it's a Husqvarna, nobody knows what you're riding, which I take me right into the little bonus like for this vehicle, this motorcycle, is how unique it is. I don't think I've hardly ever seen anyone on another one in all my riding, so they are not all that common. So again, most people that will ask about it, they don't even know the brand, or if they know the brand, they know it from chainsaws or yard equipment or something. So to me, it's just a very unique and intriguing machine. You're not gonna have anyone else out there with the same bike, most likely, and it's always going to be a topic of conversation because it's rare, interesting, and it's got a great look to it. So that pretty much rounds it out for my likes and dislikes for the bike, and I'm sure you were able to come to the conclusion that I really like this bike. I have considered, now that I've spent some time on the road and gotten more comfortable with it, that I would like a higher displacement bike, but I have a really hard time considering giving up this bike. Maybe it's because it's the first bike, but just because there's so few of them out there, I think I'd really regret not having the 401 anymore. And it's just such a great looking bike. I've considered and looked every once in a while to see if I can find the 701 Svartpilen, and perhaps someday I'll pick one up if I find the right deal on one. You know, unfortunately discontinued them here in the United States. I don't know if they make them anywhere else, brand new, but now you pretty much have to go to the used market to find one. And honestly, I think the 701s don't look quite as good as the 401s. I think the 401s just have a little better styling in my taste. But I would definitely enjoy trying out that 701 motorcycle. I bet that's a real hoot with all the added power and performance. Hey, thanks for watching the video, and I hope you enjoyed talking about the Husqvarna Svartpilen 401. And if you have any questions or want to know more, just leave a comment, and I hope you will consider liking and subscribing this video. I'm going to try and keep making new content. Right now I'm using a lot of footage from the last time I ride. I go to work for a month at a time, so I haven't been able to capture any new stuff, but I'm hoping in the near future to bring you guys some much better footage, some more angles, hopefully make this a little better quality channel. And I appreciate all the support, and I've really been happy watching people tune in and watch this content that I've made, and I love the comments, and I hope that I'm helping you guys understand more about these bikes and maybe intrigue you into getting one. I mean, if you are at all consider getting a 401, I say jump on it. I don't think there's a better value motorcycle out there, especially for somebody that wants their first bike. If you want to be able to hop on a motorcycle and go learn how to ride on the street and enjoy a street bike, but then get a little bit off-road, get a little taste for the off-road, or you can say take the advice of some of the other YouTubers there and practice your skills off-road before you get on the road. You could buy this bike and do a little off-road riding to get your balance and skills up, and you know, go lay it over in the grass or the dirt before you start meeting asphalt. So I don't think there's any way you can go wrong with this bike. So once again, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. See you later.